Inslee, who is in his second term, received national attention in 2017 for helping to launch the U.S. Climate Alliance, a bipartisan coalition of governors, after the Trump administration announced it would withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord. He has also pushed back against other White House environmental policies. Greenhouse gas emissions spiked about 6.1% under his watch, from 2012 to 2015, in part because of increasing fossil fuel-generated electricity and a booming economy, according to a January report from the state's Department of Ecology. Inslee blames the setbacks on oil companies that spent tens of millions of dollars against the most recent ballot measure and Republicans who controlled the Senate for the first 5 years of his tenure. But GOP Senator John Braun, ranking Republican on the Senate Ways and Means Committee, notes that the House never moved on many of Inslee's key pieces in the years Democrats controlled that chamber. The governor loves to blame it on the other side, but the truth is he's had trouble building consensus on his own side, Braun said. This year, the Washington legislature is moving on measures that would advance Inslee's climate agenda. The same day he announced his presidential bid, the state Senate passed a bill that seeks to eliminate fossil fuels such as natural gas and coal from the state's electricity supply by 2045. Washington, which relies heavily on hydroelectric power, generates 75% of its electricity from carbon-free sources. Inslee's proposal would require utilities in the state to eliminate coal as an energy source by 2025, with a goal of having all clean energy sources by 2045. Another major effort would implement a clean fuel standard similar to a program in California that requires fuel producers and importers to reduce the carbon emissions associated with transportation fuels. This is not easy sledding, Inslee said during a recent interview in his office in Olympia. But the reality is climate change isn't going away. Republicans have opposed the governor's latest plan, saying market incentives are a better plan than government mandates. I don't think there are any people out there who don't want a better environment, Braun said. It's simply that most reasonable people think we should do it in a way that is sustainable. Inslee, who was a champion for the clean energy industry while in Congress and wrote a book on the topic, said a clean energy economic development plan dovetails with national discussions on jobs, public health, and national security. His Climate Mission Tour starts Tuesday in Iowa. Barry Raby, a professor in the Gerald Ford School of Public Policy at the University of Michigan whose research examines climate and energy politics, said Inslee's consistency on the issue adds to his credibility on a national level. But there's a big challenge, and that's matching his very strong concern and passionate rhetoric with his actual record on climate change in Washington state. It's really unusual to have a governor to declare for the presidency when he has a make-or-break year to deliver at home, Raby said. I think for him to be credible, he better be able to deliver on some major legislative advances when he's campaigning. Inslee's optimism that this year may be different than previous years is because Democrats significantly increased their control of both chambers in the November election. Up to this point, the legislature has failed to meet the challenge, there's no question about that, said Democratic Representative Joe Fitzgibbon, chairman of the House Environmental and Energy Committee. In spite of that, Fitzgibbon said that Inslee has raised the profile of this issue exactly the way I'd want a presidential candidate to do. The governor's watch has included adoption of a clean energy company development fund, investments in electric cars and a charging system to support them, and a growing portfolio of renewable energy including solar and wind. In December, an Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs research poll found that Democrats were driving an increase in the share of Americans who name the environment and climate change as an important issue for the government to work on in 2019. In an open-ended question, nearly a quarter of Americans overall, 24%, listed environmental issues among the top 5 priorities for the government in 2019, up from 18% who listed the issue as a priority for 2018. Inslee said the devastation of last year's wildfires and hurricanes increased the urgency people feel about climate change. This used to be something people thought was 50 years from now, he said. It's today, and it's in their lives.